Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. It's Sunday, well, I was going to say Sunday afternoon, but I think it's almost really Sunday evening. It's a very sultry, cloudy early evening here in London. I think it's probably been a bit cooler temperature-wise the last couple of days, but the humidity has rocketed, so it doesn't really feel that much more comfortable unless you manage to get into a breeze. I'm sure those of you in hotter parts of the world are used to this and are doing better than I am. I tend to wilt a little bit in this weather, and at this time of year as well. I think we're all a bit tired and ready for a break. I know I am, and I've got a week left of work before I get away for a good break, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm sounding maybe a bit croaky again. I hate to say it. I've got a bit of a sore throat, a bit of a headache. I feel a bit bunged up. It must be a cold, mustn't it? Because it cannot possibly be COVID again. After I've only just had it last month, I almost daren't take a test, certainly until I have to go and see anybody who's elderly or vulnerable. I just don't tend to bother these days because so many people have got it. And we're all a bit sick of it, to be honest, but it's not entirely going away. Anyway, let's talk about something more entertaining than humid weather and feeling a bit under the weather. And that is the Chanel Les Beige releases. Frankly, about a couple of months ago now, I just haven't got round to doing this video to tell you what I thought about the new Water Fresh Complexion Touch and the new Water Fresh blush, which is this one. I don't know if you can remember when the Les Beige Water Fresh Tint came out. So they have slightly different names, which is a little bit confusing. Both of them have these little spheres suspended in kind of jelly. I think they're a bit clearer on this slightly darker one, which was a fairly unusual product when it came out. I was listening to somebody's, I think it was Alison Chase's video about her 10 favourite Chanel products, and the Water Fresh Tint made the cut. And she was saying it's 4 years ago since that came out. Honestly, it seems like yesterday, doesn't it? It's like that 2 year period of the pandemic was just lost forever. But I remember when it came out, and the first time, a couple of times I used it, and I thought, this is hopeless as a product. I really don't like it. And what I was doing was not applying it in the way that they told you to, because I'm not a great girl for following the instructions or even reading them sometimes, which is to pour a blob onto the back of your hand and break it up with the brush. I'll show you what I mean in a minute with the new Water Fresh Complexion Touch. So going back, Water Fresh Tint, Water Fresh Complexion Touch. I think those two titles are misleading and they should be the other way round, because in fact this is much more of a tint and this one is much more of a touch. What do I mean by that? I think it's generally agreed that the Water Fresh Tint, the older product, they're maintaining it in the range, felt very nice but doesn't give tremendous coverage. It does if you apply it properly, in other words, breaking up the particles on the back of your hand before you apply it. It does give some coverage, I've found, but it's a very light coverage, and if you're bothered about that, but you like the feel and the general look that this product gives, then you can use it. I've heard some people say they use it as a primer, or what I do is use it all over the face and then just use some concealer where I really need a bit more coverage, or another foundation where I need a bit more coverage, which is basically around my nose, to be honest. What is really beautiful about this product and hasn't really been replicated in any other product that I've tried or particularly heard about is the high water content. It's, I believe, 70%, something like that, 75% water content. And then the tint, the colour, is suspended in the little kind of blobs inside. It's a pump action, and it comes with a little brush. It just feels so cooling, refreshing, beautiful product to wear in the summer. It gives you a kind of glow, a bit of a kind of evening out of the skin. Just a really nice product if you don't like to go out barefaced. The only thing I would say is that because it's such a high water content, I definitely feel that my sunscreen kind of moves around a little bit under it, which I'm always a bit worried about because there's absolutely no SPF protection in this. And that's a bit of a shame, given it's a product that you are likely to be wearing when you're going out in hot weather and you most need your high SPF. But you see, I like it. I got it in two. This is the, I think the, light. So that's the lightest shade. And this is my second bottle, which I'm using up. And then I also got it in medium, which is this one, which I thought would give me a slightly bronzier look. It's a tiny bit dark for me, even in the summer, or certainly in the past summers that we've had, mostly indoors, or certainly not going anywhere very exciting. But I do use it kind of on the cheekbones, almost as a kind of, bronzy finish, golden finish. So anyway, this year they brought out the baby sister or the big brother. I don't know how we should call it. This one is, I think, 60 or 65% water. You can definitely see the spheres suspended in it more clearly of the colour, and it definitely gives more coverage. I've got it in the tone BR12, which is what I would wear in the lait beige foundations by choice. So by giving it those designations rather than light, medium, dark, you can see that they're promoting it as much nearer to a foundation, part of the foundation range. And it comes in a little bottle rather than the big one. I don't know how much you're getting, 20ml. So not a huge amount. I can't remember how much it cost. I haven't worn this a great deal yet. Let's demonstrate. Oh, gone a bit too much there. So actually, the blobs there seem already a bit... let's just go with the water tint so you can see that as well. So can you see that? Very kind of watery, doesn't look like foundation-y at all. I'm going to use the brush that came with. This is what you're supposed to do. And you see, when you break it up, you get the colour showing a bit. But it is a light coverage, can't pretend anything else. Now, this new one, the Complexion Touch, also comes with a brush. For some reason, a much kind of daintier pointed brush. I like it. And you still do the same thing. You pat it down a bit. And I think you can immediately see, even in this very light tone, that there's definitely more coverage. But it's still a very liquid, watery sounds unpleasant. It thirst quenching, shall we say, to your skin feel, but definitely a more powdery feel when you do that as opposed to the old one. But I like it. I will definitely be wearing it a lot this summer. While we're on the topic of the brushes, I also sometimes use my Sublimage foundation brush, which came free with the very expensive foundation. I guess if you attributed what this brush would probably cost you if you were buying it direct from Chanel, i.e. at least 40 quid, it makes the foundation price a little bit easier to swallow. It is a really excellent foundation brush, I have found, because it's sufficiently dense. It has a bit of a dome there to get into the awkward bits, but it's big enough to spread around your foundation relatively rapidly in the morning when you're in a rush. It's actually one of my favourite foundation brushes, if not the favourite foundation brush. The other product that came out is the same formulation for what they call the Waterfresh Blush Waterfresh Blush. So again, you can see the little spheres. Now, I haven't used this very much. I will use it. My issue, I think, is I probably bought the wrong shade. I bought Intense Coral, which on the shade card was one of the deeper shades, but I took no notice of that. I thought, no, it's watery. I want something that will show, so it'll be fine. And I like coral, and I haven't got many coral blushes. However, it is insanely pigmented. It's really hard to get out a smaller droplet than that with the pump action. And when you blend it in, you can see, you know, if you use that much on your face, getting little blobs there, you're going to look like you've got scarlet fever or something. So I find to use it, I'm doing the tiniest blob on the back of my hand and then transferring the tiniest bit of that to my face, to my cheek. And whilst it looks pretty, it's not that pretty. So there you can see, just using the bit that's on the back of my hand, you're getting a fair old stain. It doesn't have any shimmer or anything. That's fine. You can use your highlight on top, and some people don't like shimmer. But it's too intense. It really is. And it doesn't feel that great on the skin for some reason. So I don't know if it's just I've got the wrong shade. I don't think that's helped, but I don't find it the easiest product to apply. I think I prefer, well, I do like some liquid blushes. I've got a Suku one, which I absolutely love and have been using for a couple of years. It's lasted for a couple of years. It's fantastic. And I like cream blushes, and I like my powder blushes, but this just isn't really working for me, which is a shame. So it just shows you can't necessarily apply the same concepts across the board in relation to all the different products and find they work as well, because I love the complexion product. The blush just isn't right for me. So there you go. There are lots of reviews for these well, particularly the complexion product. I'm not sure I've seen that many of the blush reviews, but I may just have missed them when they came out. So there are a lot of reviews out there. It's a really interesting range. I do recommend the complexion products. If you were only having one, I think I would still go for the original Waterfresh Tint, because it just feels so nice and gives such a kind of carefree, translucent application. You know, if you really don't mind too much about the coverage, or you can make up the coverage with a bit of concealer. This one is nice too. It's a bit closer to an actual foundation, so you kind of think, do I need this one as well in my armoury of foundations? I have to say, I think Chanel hit it out of the park on foundations. They have a fantastic range, and particularly for lighter skinned women. I don't think they're so great for darker skins, but that's the colour range rather than the formulations, which are fantastic. So there we go. I hope to make a few more videos before I go on holiday, but promises, you just never know. In the meantime, have a great week, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye for now.